Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to Out of Mana Podcast. This is episode number 5, all about healing stories. The horrible, the good, the bad, the ugly, and all of the in-between. But before we start getting into our story, Shammy wanted to do a little announcement real quick.
Yeah, if my Firefox would stop spazzing out on me.
Aww.
Hello everybody, and yeah, like Vera said, welcome to Out of Mana. But before we get started with our podcast, just wanted to make sure everybody on Twitch, on iTunes, on YouTube was aware that another World of Warcraft podcast is doing a 24-hour charity event. Epic Podcast is doing a charity stream over on twitch.tv/Epic Podcast. It's going to be April 6th It's going to be April 6th, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time to April 7th, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And from what I saw from what I was reading, they're doing LFR with some viewers. They're going to do a pet battle tournament in WoW, StarCraft 2 tournament, some Diablo 3. Going to play some Secret World. And it's all benefiting Child's Play, which if you just want to Google Child's Play, it can tell you what that's about. And yeah, so we'll reiterate that later on, and I'll make sure I give the links to some stuff at the end of the show.
Sounds fun.
Should be very interesting, to be honest.
Okay, who has stories? Why don't you go ahead and start off, Shammy?
Do we want a good story to start off with, or do we want a bad story to start off with?
You have good stories from looking for dungeon?
Screenshotter did not. Shocking.
Seriously?
Yeah, go ahead and start with a good story.
Okay, well, I've probably told this one a million times, but it was probably a month ago, not too long ago, but kind of long ago, and I was running some dungeons, getting the guild achievement, or not guild achievement, the guild runs done with my guild, obviously, and we're all in pretty much full raid gear from either LFR or Mogashan Vaults or Valor. And we zone in, and we end up getting a monk who's in pretty much full greens, obviously barely making the what's it called, the item level requirement. And this tank, although being kind of squishy, was probably one of the best tanks I've gotten since Looking for Dungeon was implemented back in Lich King. So, she warned us ahead of time, which is always nice. She didn't pull more than she knew that she couldn't handle. She actually knew how to use mitigation. So, all in all, we ran like 3 or 4 dungeons with her, me and my guildies, and it was pretty cool. She ended up getting all the leather agility gear, and that's all that seemed like dropped. So she got some nice gear out of it.
I actually have a story that's similar to that. We always diss on the DK tanks and everything about being so horrible, and when you include PvP gear in that, it's even worse. But I actually got a PvP geared DK tank once, and I think Well of Eternity, and it was just the best run with a DK tank I've ever had. He took virtually no damage and did all of his mitigation. It was just wonderful.
I love that.
A DK tank that knows how to use mitigation and most of all knows how to use Death Strike can be the best tank that you will get in a long time.
Unless they are my monk.
But it goes to show it's not the class that's bad, it's usually the player.
Definitely. There's another thread up on the healing forums, and these type of threads pop up every once in a while. It's which tank is harder to heal?
The bad one.
The bad ones.
The one that doesn't know his class, to be honest. Like Sparkle was saying in the IRC earlier, some tanks all have different damage patterns, and if you know how to play your class, you're going to be able to, mitigate them a lot easier.
Yep, absolutely. A good tank will basically learn how he takes damage. And anytime he starts to spike, he's going to use cooldowns. And, the way all tanks have crap loads of cooldowns now. It's, So
Sometimes I get things are like, oh my god, cooldowns are hard.
oh god, yeah.
Yeah, I had a paladin on my monk at 64 who I actually asked if he could use mitigation, and guess what came out of his mouth?
What's
What's
mitigation?
mitigation?
Exactly. It's a face desk moment, when a face palm just doesn't cover it.
Yeah. Then again, sometimes I get like those horrible, horrible things, and I'm like, this is kind of fun. Their crappiness is actually making it entertaining for me.
Yeah, I mean, at 90 on my shaman, I don't mind crappy tanks quite as bad, because it actually gives me something to heal. But at 65, when I'm just trying to level, it's kind of like, hurts.
Yeah.
So what about you, Vero? You got any stories?
I have a bad one from like a week or so ago. So I hit 90 on my Disc Priest, finally.
Congrats.
And yay! And I still have another one to level. Yay! And I was running with Riot from the healing forums, and he was tanking, and we're in... I don't remember which heroic we were in, but we're in a heroic, and this is, after I dinged 90, so I had horrible gear. I had, 3k spirit, barely, so I was constantly having to drink after each pool, after any, big pools, but I didn't have any trouble, keeping him up or anything. And the hunter in the group kept misdirecting in the middle of me drinking, so I think I sustained 5% mana almost the entire thing, and so eventually Riot was just like, okay, whatever, I'm just not gonna take anything off. So we're standing there and just waiting for the hunter to just die, and for whatever reason it didn't happen. And then on one of the boss fights, I was like, I'm not gonna heal him anymore because I'm not gonna waste my mana when, it's more important for me to keep the tank alive, especially if I know the tank. And after a while, he started to realize that I wasn't healing him anymore, so he was misdirecting all the mobs to me so that I would die, but, being a priest, all I had to do was fade and then, slash lol. And then, Riot in the chat was like, do you really think I'm going to let her die? And so he kept misdirecting to me over and over again, but he had it set so it shows you in the chat, so I knew anytime he was going to do it, so I just hit fade. Yeah, and the best part was, he only spoke Spanish, and I know Spanish, so I knew exactly what he was saying when he was saying stuff to the other person in the group. And apparently they tried to kick me, and it failed, obviously, because I was still in there. And he kept saying something like, heal me, noob, or whatever, and I was like, not until you stop pulling. And so we eventually just left because we ended up wiping because he pulled the entire room of something and misdirected as much as he could to me as I'm fading and spam healing and trying to keep everybody alive, and it was just horrible. And I think that was one of the first heroics too that I did on my priest. That made it even more fun.
I actually had
Awesome.
a guildie who had an experience.
That was definitely a horror story for me.
I actually had a guildie who actually had an experience kind of like that on his Disc Priest, and he is now Shadow because he never wants to heal again.
Oh
Poor
boy,
guy.
yeah. Traumatized, huh?
Pretty much. I mean, I've seen it happen where people get that group and they just stop healing for X amount of time, but... Hello, Rawlings, how are you?
That's why I hate when people do that, because if you're doing it to someone that's new to healing, they're not going to do it.
Seriously, there are some real dicks out there, and we all know that.
Oh yeah, I mean I've had recently too where I was queuing up for dungeon on my baby priest over on Shammy's realm, and the tank queue got canceled 5 times in a row, and I'm like, oh god, I have a tank who's freaking doing this on purpose. And then finally the queue pops, and they get a tank in there, and it's a DK tank, go figure. And first trash mob in front of the tides, I'm not even there yet, and he immediately dies and then leaves. And then one of the DPS say tank had res sickness, and I'm like, oh, awesome.
Nice.
I'm like, yeah, I'm not surprised. Let's continue on.
I had a horror story that actually was the DPS that made me want to face this, not the tank. Which is really weird for me. I tend to get the good DPS but the crappy tank. And not the other way around. But I had a DPS, Mogushon Palace Heroic, literally stood in every single lightning storm and every single whirlwind on the first few mobs.
Ew.
I hate that.
Well, related to that, and looking for aid, the first week of Terrace, I was healing it, and I actually saw a hunter who stood in all 3 lightning storms. Like, that was heroic. You actually have to try to stand in the inside one, middle one, then run all the way out for the back one, and it's just...
Yeah, it's...
Looking for aid is painful.
Later in the week you get, the worse it is.
Yeah.
I've actually noticed, since looking for raid, a lot of the good raiders don't really need to do it anymore, because they're either capping in their actual raids or in dungeons, it seems. That it's honestly the best days I've gotten for the past 3 or 4 weeks have been Friday, Saturday LFRs, not Tuesday, Wednesday, or Sunday, Monday.
Sunday, Monday's bad.
Monday is like challenge mode.
Monday, if I go in on Monday, I go in with healer friends, and we make bets on Elegon on how many people are going to die from falling.
Yeah, I won the last bet on that one.
Yeah, you did.
That was not with anyone else from the healer group, though, so...
But I say it in the instance chat, and people pick up on it.
Oh yeah, and like people who don't even know the fight, don't even know, so they die.
Well, for PvP Rawlings, I've got a horror story for that, too. When I was PvPing on my Shaman in Cataclysm, the 2 tiers before the PvP tier we're in now, I was trying to heal a flag carrier in, what's the new flag carrier one? The Dwarven Orc one.
Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks, thank you. And I ended up getting CC'd and stunned and silenced and whatnot. And my tank, the flag carrier, kept running away. Of course, I die. And then he goes on and dies. And the first thing out of his mouth was, "You suck, learn to heal."
Yeah,
Learn to
those
heal when you're
people.
dead.
Yeah, it swears. Healers... Some people think healers are supposed to be able to heal either dead or without mana.
What's a mana?
That little shiny bar thing, I don't think it actually does anything.
My blue bar never moves.
I see it moving up and down every once in a while, but it doesn't do anything really. Yeah, I've seen that happen too, Rawlings. I've actually, but yeah, going back to mana, I've had tanks tell me healers don't use mana to heal.
I remember you talking about that.
And also, in a previous podcast, we mentioned healers don't need intellect.
Or spirit.
Yeah.
Dodge and parry all the way.
Strength.
Heck yeah.
Strength. Let's make our heals strong.
Yeah, I mean, strength makes our healers hit stronger, right?
Apparently.
I think that's how it works.
But yeah, Elegon's basically Hagara all over again.
Oh god.
Except Elegon, it's a lot easier to avoid the death than Hagara was. Because you just gotta run off a platform and you're not. Hagara, if you stood too still for too long, you died.
That is
Or
true.
if a priest life gripped you through the wall, you died.
Yeah.
No priest would ever do that.
Once I got enough gear, if I was still
Never.
doing Dragon Soul LFR, I used to just stand in the bubble and heal myself through it. There was no point. It's like, I don't want to dodge anything. I have to spend my...
Awesome.
And then,
Right.
and then trying to chain the lightning to the pillars on Hagara.
Oh god.
Move as a group. Move as a group. Move as a group.
No, what's the best when you get a hunter that turns on aspects, so you're moving like...
Oh. Blade Lord?
Yeah. Turn aspect off. It's even worse when you have 4 or 5 hunters in the group because they all think it's someone else, I guess.
Yeah.
And the one who actually is doing it is probably like, it's not me.
It's like, all hunters, look at your aspect bar. It tells you which one you're in. Or if you're a hunter and you have 2 aspects at the moment, you're not the one.
Yeah, it usually turns into just kill all of the hunters, and then we don't have to worry about it. And then usually someone confesses, oh, I'm sorry, I had it on.
Oops, I forgot. I mean, I play a hunter. I know how you can check and see if, you're the one with aspect of the pack on.
Yeah, I have a hunter too. It's not that hard.
If your aspect of the Hawk is on your bar and is not like the weird blued out orby glowing thing, it's probably you.
Yeah, if it's one of the 2 right-hand ones, it's probably you.
See, it's probably you can just go on and on.
Then again, sometimes it's us. I mean, I am guilty of doing really stupid stuff.
If I get bored on my Prace, I life grip people in the bad.
If I get bored on my Pally, I just bop the highest melee DPS, or Hunter. Or I just do it to all Hunters, because, Hunters are funny.
It's not even doing it on purpose. I mean, there was one time I zoned in time on my Druid healing, and I went to start healing the trash before Sylvanas, and I started freaking out because the tank was taking insane amount of damage, and my heals felt like they weren't even touching him. And after that trash pull, since no one died, I went and looked my spec really quick, and I was in Feral. And then from that moment on, I made sure my Feral and Restal sets had different transmogs.
But we healers are not completely without fault, no matter what we say, and we'll all admit that. But at least the 5 of us in here have the decency that if it is our fault, to at least admit it was our fault. Well, at least I know
I'm stubborn.
I do.
Or
Oh yeah,
no
if it's
one
my
knows.
fault, I'm the first one to say something.
If I do something that calls a wipe, calls someone to die, anything like that, I will immediately say, that was me. Sorry. But I'm also on the flip side. If it wasn't my fault and somebody says it was, I do tend to argue those.
You want to mention
should.
our little fun experience today, Joe?
You can if you want. It wasn't that bad.
It was. Since you were new and I was off healing too, it could have ended very badly.
Yeah.
But we were running a dungeon and we get one of the, what was it?
It was Scarlet something.
Sanctuary. No, Scarlet Cathedral.
It's the cathedral.
Is it the one inside or the one of the Courtyard of Death?
The Courtyard
The Court of Death.
But yeah, we get to the Courtyard of Death, and it's Morin healing on her shaman. I was DPSing as Holy, and then it was
Nerf was tanking on his
Nerf
warrior.
was tanking on his warrior. And we get to that courtyard, and I don't know what happened, but it gets to the point, like, all the mobs in the first part of that courtyard were all over the place.
Yes.
And
I think-
and then Nerf died.
Yeah, Nerf died, but nobody else died, so.
Actually,
it's
you
okay.
died once, and then
Yeah, I popped back up, yeah. I used
as
my
soon as you
reincarnate.
died, I made sure to pop into my Serenity chakra and then start healing too.
See, it would really suck if World of Warcraft was a hard mode. Like, if you died once, that was it. You had to restart your character.
I would have had to restart so many times.
Just think of all the wipes we've had, Joe, and if you had to restart after
Don't.
every one.
Don't talk about that.
I'd quit.
Yeah, I probably
Yeah.
would quit too.
Because in
Yeah.
EverQuest, when you die, you lose some of the experience, which even that was aggravating.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't mind the durability damage. I can't talk. I don't mind the durability damage, especially since it's so easy to make gold nowadays. So you can easily just make up whatever you have to spend in repairs.
Oh yeah, like 1 or 2 quests and you're golden, pretty much.
From what you get from the quest, plus everything you sell that's vendor trash, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, Joe, you're Rawlings' idol. How's that make you feel?
My what's idol?
Somebody in attack just said, Joe, you're my idol.
Oh. Okay.
Joe's my idol too. It's okay.
Joe is all of our idols.
Vero's my baby mama.
Yep.
And I'm just the guy that sits here and talks to them.
Yep.
I'm not here, I guess.
Don't forget about Sparkle Pony.
Sparkle, sparkle.
That really sounds like his Pokemon call or something, Milk.
Are you secretly a Pokemon Sparkle? Which would you rather be? Which would you rather be? A
Don't
pony
even
or
say
a...
pony. Don't even say it.
What about a Pokemon that's a pony?
I'm sorry, I'll stop.
Sparkle Pony, I choose you!
We love you, Sparkle.
Anyway,
So you do a lot of tanking, right, Sparkle?
yep, it's kind of, well, that and my Pally has been my main since, kind of like flip-flopping since Wrath.
Right. So, do you have any stories from a tank's point of view?
How about bad
Well,
healer stories?
Yeah, bad healer stories. I want to hear some of that.
Oh god, well, okay, when I queue into 5-mans, I kind of automatically assume that the healer's bad, so,
Ouch.
that's why I like my monk, because, I mean, I don't really need a healer, honestly, for some of these dungeons. Especially the heroics, because, I mean, they don't really hit hard, you know?
They really don't. I've healed entire heroics with just Riptide and Healing Rain.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember, like, ZA and ZG, those instances, like, the bosses actually hit as hard as, like, Fireland's normal bosses,
Yeah.
which was insane. I mean, for a 5-man, that was pretty insane. It was, like, the bosses really didn't do any damage other than the tank damage, but still, you know.
Yeah,
It was
ZG
kind of
and ZA, I think we all have horror stories about those.
I've blocked those out.
There was that one corridor with the scouts in ZA before you got to the Dragonhawk boss.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably the worst few pulls of my entire 8 years of playing this game.
With the flame guy. I don't like this flame guy.
Yeah, because if you didn't have someone who could dispel that buff or spell steal it or something, you ended up with just so much AoE damage going around. Like, I actually forced tanks to stop and use CC in that area.
Yeah, when it first came out, I did too, but the longer it went on, when I got more gear, I was just like, I don't care, just charge through.
Well, yeah, as I got more gear, but when I was just in that first tier raiding gear, those were, even then it was difficult.
They were a nightmare.
I mean, in 359 gear, they were difficult. If I ever got bored and I did one, and I'm in like Dragon Soul 397 gear, then yeah, I'd be like, yeah, just go.
Yeah. Well, I actually have a story about, from Wrath. It was, when the ICC 5-mans first came out. I think everyone has, like, a horror story, if you did them at the time,
Oculus.
about, like, Halls of Reflection was particularly bad if you had a bad tank.
If you had,
Or like
Dude.
really low DPS.
Yeah, it had streaming ads, so basically some tanks are just awful at streaming ads. But anyway, so actually the thing that started me wanting to tank was the first Halls of Reflection dungeon I did, because I had a freaking amazing warrior tank that time. Like, I was on my Pally, I'd heard so many horror stories about the dungeon, and then, yeah, basically I got this tank who freaking kept aggro on everything, even though we didn't line of sight or anything. He kept them grouped up somehow, and it just, I don't know.
that Halls of Reflection heroic really separated bad tanks from good tanks.
Definitely. Yeah.
And then the second part of it really separated bad DPS from good DPS, because if you had bad DPS
Oh boy,
on that
yeah.
gauntlet,
Oh, trying to get... Yeah, when you need to go through...
well, yeah, it separated good healers from bad healers as well, but
Yep.
It just separated good players from bad players.
That's good.
Yeah, there were times I just had to leave because I think the tank was awesome, but the DPS, there was just no way we were going to get through the gauntlet.
I normally give LFD groups one wipe. If we wipe more than that, unless it was my fault, I leave. Because even still, because it seems like there's more healers in Mist, but even then, healing queues are still a hell of a lot faster than DPS queues.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather wait 5 minutes over 40 minutes for a queue.
Yeah, me too. Going back to like the ZG, I have a story about Zul'Gurub.
Tell us.
Well, I was entering it to get my Lashtail pet, which, oh my god, I love that quest line, by the way. And I get a warrior tank in PvP blues and greens. In the first boss, he stands in the poison and finally moves before he dies. But then he follows the boss up the stairs when it goes up the stairs. I life grip him to me, and he charges back up and then dies. The Warlock, who is freaking awesome for the entire run, actually used a light well. Everyone else ignored it. Finally, we down it after the tank dies because we were kiting it back and forth along the area. We get to the cat boss, the High Priestess. The tank charges in and ignores all the ads. And I realize this about 75% health. So I charge into the pens myself and use Holy Nova to pull them out to the tank. We only get 2 pens down before the phase changes, and the remaining cats actually charge me, and a healing cluster swear word ensues, but we all live. The fourth boss, which is the cauldrons, everything goes okay, but I life grip the mage to me to pick up the green cauldron during green phase, and he ignores it, and I heal his butt through it. Lucky for him. The final boss, I described the second phase to the tank. Since he asked, I assumed he knew the first phase. But
the
during the
pug
first
breaker?
Yes, Jindo the Pug Breaker. During that first phase, he keeps the boss inside the bubble, and the mage stands outside of the bubble. I heal the mage through it every single time. We get to the second phase, and then all the DPS stand on one. I stand with the tank on another one, and then first jump goes to a DPS, breaks that. The Warlock, I love him at this point. I would do dirty, dirty things to him if he asked me to. He's keeping on the ads, and everyone else is burning the chains. And then the second jump goes onto the rogue, so I life grip the rogue to the second chain. That chain goes down. The third one jumps onto me on the last chain, and we finally just down that boss. And I was like, oh, it's over, thank God.
One thing I remember about that one is, unless I specifically said, all right, you DPS, you're on ads, or you're on ads, I would just get overwhelmed with ads because those things for having such little health hit hard.
I had an easier time on that boss on my priest, and I did my druid when I was healing it.
Yeah, I mean, even when I was back then doing it on a paladin in plate gear, I would still be dying way too quickly.
The ghosts were nasty.
And copper phase.
And it just
Yeah.
and it just seemed that like DPS, they either didn't care, or they would complain when you asked them to, hey, can you keep these ads off me? Like, well, you can do it, or that's the tank's job. It's like they take 2 or 3 hits, just kill them.
Well, the answer is obviously that monks didn't exist yet, so no one could just spin and crank it their way to victories.
That would have been cool, actually.
I do have to
That would have
say,
fixed it.
monks being able to channel their Soothing Mist and then instant cast a lot of their bigger heals is awesome.
Yeah.
Especially since at my level, a single Surging Mist can normally heal a tank from almost 0 to full in 1 hit.
Yeah, the beauty of not being level.
Riot, most of us in here can't talk about alt tapping because we do that in heroics all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I would.
Like I keep on saying, if I had another priest, I'd name it Tabbed Out.
What would you name it?
Tabbed Out.
That would be a good name.
I mean, I put down Healing Rain, I check the IRC, read a couple things on the forum, go back, put down another Healing Rain.
Basically.
I use Prayer of Mending and then go AFK.
Five mans this expansion are kind of easy.
It seemed like
They are.
It seemed like the Hour of Twilight 5-mans were harder than the heroics this expansion.
And they were easy.
Well, I mean, to be fair, once we kind of like really outgear it now, but
That's a good point.
True. I mean, I'm just hoping that at some point they'll add in more dungeons, because I really am getting bored of doing the same dungeons every week trying to cap.
I like them on my monk because it's like a struggle to stay alive because I pull so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys wouldn't like killing me. Or you would really like it. It depends how masochistic you feel that day.
I feel masochistic quite often when I go to heal.
I think it's just because of some of the
I've healed your monk before. It's not that bad.
Not that bad. Wow, I am slightly offended.
Try harder next time.
You just used too much mitigation, Sparkle. How could you? First we get tanks that use no mitigation, then we get tanks that use too much.
Too much. You got
There's got to be
Here's
a
a story about too much. I was actually tanking one of the hots on my paladin, and the priest was just freaking the whole time. Okay, you are boring to heal, so I'm going to start removing gear until it actually makes me heal.
Oh,
And I'm
gosh.
like, okay, go ahead.
I did a dungeon on my 86 Death Knight who's a tank with a guilty healing, and it literally got to the point where I stopped using Death Strike and all mitigation just to give him something to heal. But
That's why I'm glad I'm a disc priest, because I always have something to do.
I mean, I've healed heroics on my shaman as elemental.
Yep.
It's at least give me something to do. It gets boring after a while when you just put someone on follow and leave your computer for the length of the dungeon.
Occasionally put a hot on them,
Make it look like you're doing something.
so you have some numbers and a healing done.
And then you get to the LFR where sometimes you're able to AFK and then other times
I've never been able to AFK. I'm very bitter about this fact.
I've been able to AFK once. Really, even though I joke about it all the time. Right, we're not even the same faction, sadly. But most of the time it feels like I'm 2 healing or 3 healing some of those bosses.
I feel bad for the people watching from YouTube and from iTunes who don't even know when you reference someone in the chat.
Yeah, maybe you should give some context.
That's why they should be listening to it live.
Some people
Exactly.
are
There's
at
benefits
work.
to the live show.
That's true. Yeah, I keep forgetting that there's people that aren't lucky enough to either work at night or from home.
Well, the fact is, it's not even 5 on the West Coast.
Very, very true. Okay, Winnie.
Well, West Coast sucks anyway. No offense to anyone on West Coast.
So Winnie wants us to say her name.
Oh, Winnie.
There you go, Winnie.
Hi, Winnie.
If you
Hi.
really,
And hi, Rawlings, because I said I would give you a shout out too.
if you really want to get into the
And hi,
lore,
Mariska.
And
Hope I
hi,
said your
Miri.
name right.
I love you.
if you really want to get into the lore of who started the war, yes and no. The Alliance kind of started the war, but then on the other hand, it was some darker forces orchestrating it. It's all Vero's fault. Vero, how could you start the war?
Aww.
Well, some people just like to pillage, and I'm one of those people.
You would hate
What are we pillaging?
You would hate orcs too if you were taken by them, made into a slave, forced to fight in
Oh
Gladiator.
my god. Please don't talk about lore.
Or no.
Don't get
I
me
mean,
wrong, I
You
love
can,
Thrall.
but I will.
I love Thrall too.
I'm like
love.
a staunch Garrosh supporter, so you guys will kill me.
I have to admit, I would have rathered Varian Rin died in Cataclysm than Garrosh have become a war chief.
I'm gonna go high now.
I get grief about this, but I actually love Anduin too.
And Anduin is probably, after Thrall, my favorite character.
He's the biggest Mary Sue ever.
He's become badass though in Cataclysm.
What?
If you've actually done some of the quests with him in Stormwind, he's actually pretty badass. And then the fact that
the ones where you babysit him and he like goes like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna die from this assassin. Please help me." And then you're like, "All right, dude, it has like."
It's not
100K
even so
health."
much that. I just like his personality, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. He's adorable.
he's also like this goody two shoes, and then he goes and uses Dominate Mind in Jade Forest in one of those quests.
It's not like
okay, I
Jaina.
can see
Jaina
that.
annoys me.
What?
Why does Jaina
Jaina's
annoy
badass
you?
now.
I don't know. She just pissed me off. I don't even know why.
She flipped nuts.
She annoys me too.
I
Good,
actually
it's not just me.
I can't wait until we get to do the Garrosh raid, because Jaina's supposed to make another appearance there.
Okay,
Sylvanas all the way.
If
Yeah.
I get to kill Jaina, I'll
Oh
be
yeah, I
so
love
happy.
Sylvanas.
I actually think it's Horde and Alliance are going after Garrosh.
Yeah, but I would still like to kill Jaina, just because reasons. I think her death cry would be satisfying.
The thing is, Jaina used to wipe so many groups that used to try to raid her. She was also one of the few bosses that after they added tethers to raid world bosses, people were still able to kite into cities. There's actually a video on YouTube of Jaina wiping, just laying waste to Orgrimmar because somebody kited her there.
Speaking
That's
of kiting, some on Airy Peak, a rogue kited one of the rares from the Vale into the shrine this morning and killed me, and I was very unimpressed.
That's funny.
So, going on, just talking about Garrosh, since we're off the topic of Feeler horror stories anyway, let's, for everybody here and everybody in the chat, who do you want to see become the next war chief? Because I personally think Vol'jin would make an excellent war chief.
Oh my
That would
god,
be
I love
awesome.
Vol'jin.
Yes.
I love that guy.
Yes.
Vol'jin.
You like Garrosh. Nobody cares what your opinion is.
Garrosh can suck it.
Vol'jin would be awesome.
Who's Tyrande?
I wouldn't-
Randa.
Who? What?
The,
Night Elf leader?
No, she's the one with the moon
Yeah,
stuff.
she's the Night Elf.
in
That's
that.
the Night Elf. She
Yeah,
can't be war
okay.
chief.
She can't be war
It's
chief.
an
Oh, wow.
Vol'jin's the
Nice.
Vol'jin's the leader of the trolls. Winning, he's not.
Trolls are awesome. I love trolls. Female trolls, male trolls.
I just.
Did you say a chiropractor? Just saying.
I'm gonna go out there and say, milk me softly for war chief because there'll be free milk for everyone.
What if I'm lactose intolerant?
I say Sparkle Fever for war
There's a
chief.
soy variety too.
I would make a great war chief, but no, seriously, I'm pretty sure they're setting up Lorthamar to be next war chief because I'm not gonna lie, at the end of the Dominance Offensive quests, I thought he was actually... I almost had respect for male blood elves. Almost. Like, they went from hated to not as hated.
Actually, I kind of liked him in that quest line too. He was kind of, I don't know, the backbone was kind of cool.
Yeah, like, he's not just, standing there and being like, oh, the blood elves suck and whatnot, we'll get power or something.
Then again, Bane finally made an appearance again.
True.
Oh, he shows up like once in Shrine. And he's like, Garrosh, you stop doing bad things, or else I will do like the
I
UN
will spank
does,
you.
and be very angry at you.
I'd like to see
I know.
the
I kind of
spanking.
have very little respect for Bane personally, at least in this expansion.
Just so people know, if you guys hear a voice that isn't marked on the screen or whatnot, it's because we have Buffy in here, and I didn't know if he wanted to join us officially or not, so he doesn't have a screen region.
He's not special.
We still love him.
I'm going to add
Yes,
one in
we
now
do.
for him.
But I'm going to go back to Jaina and the whole end time thing, and the fact that Tanks would quite often ignore all the trash and just go straight to Jaina.
Oh my god, is this how this whole, like, side thing started?
Yes.
I don't even know anymore.
I believe so, to be honest.
Yeah,
did
that
not
was
miss that
probably
dungeon.
the most annoying thing. And that whole freaking instance is what pretty much brought upon the Light Spring.
Why, hello,
Controversy.
Winnie. How are you?
Yay, it's Winnie!
Hey, Winnie.
Hey, Winnie.
Alright, let me add another screen region.
You're busy today.
Making you work.
Woo.
So I have a story from End Time, since we're talking about it. I don't know if you guys remember. I posted it in the thread that we have on the healing forums. For those that don't know, we have a thread where we can vent about things. And backstory, I post YouTube videos, and so one day I decided, oh, the satchel's up on my disc priest. Let me run a little dungeon and let me record it because fun things might happen. That was a
satchel's
horrible
a
idea.
trap.
Yeah, the satchel is a trap. Unless it has mount in it, then it's totally worth it, which I've never gotten. So I queue up and I get end time, and so I'll link the video if anybody really wants to watch it, but so I'm talking in the video like normal, introducing myself. I think someone just remembered what story I'm talking about.
Yes, I
and
did.
then all of a sudden, the tank's health drops to about half, and I think in the middle of me talking, I say like, profanity words or something else, and I'm like, oh my god, why is he taking so much damage? And so like I'm running over there and healing him. He's pulling trash. Aggro is everywhere. Everybody has aggro. It is horrible. And then I realized the reason that the tank sucks is he's not in blood presence, first of all. He has horrible gear, and I mean his health is ping-ponging back and forth. I'm spamming holy light or flash of light like it's going out of style, or flash heal, whatever character I was on, and it was the most horrible dungeon I've ever been in. And we didn't make it past the trash. Like the tank ended up leaving after we died. I was in shock by what just happened, and then eventually the DPS just left because it was scary. So the satchel is a trap.
Although recently, a couple days ago, I got the white polar bear from the satchel.
I hate you.
Oh my god, I hate
I
it.
never get anything good. I just get like flask.
Oh, to be
Or
fair,
like
I have gotten the white polar bear, the white hawk strider, the green proto twice, blue proto. I've gotten everything but the raven.
just, you're not allowed to
I
talk
got
anymore.
the emerald
Kick you
whelpling
out of the
too.
channel.
I will either get a flask, and it's normally a flask that I don't use, or an uncut gem.
So I have gotten a few pets and a couple of them.
But
I have to be.
I get pets that I don't have, like I have already is the thing.
Well, it was before I started playing my horde characters again. I got like the Durtar Scorpion and stuff like that, so that was kind of cool.
I got a captured firefly and a hyacinth macaw.
Yeah, I have those too. But
I almost sold my emerald whelpling for like 30k, and then I'm like, screw that, I'm going to keep it instead.
anyway, backstory. I make videos for YouTube too, but I did Stormsop Brewery as I started leveling up my priest with a warlock tank. So it was quite interesting, especially since he took less damage than most people I've ever had since.
Oh, speaking of warlock tanks, I did Shaw the other day, and they filled the group with 40 people, and we only need one tank. And they're like, we can one tank this. And we're like, nah, kick somebody, we need a tank. But anyway, it ended up getting pulled, and a Warlock tanked all the Ayers. It was pretty cool. And we didn't die. It was actually one of the quickest Shaws I've ever done. With a Warlock tank on the Ayers.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
I actually went in with a person I met on the PTR, and we two-manned the heroics, him as a warlock and me as a shaman.
Nice.
Actually, sounds kind of fun.
That does.
Did you put our 5 healers one dungeon on YouTube?
That was supposed
No,
to
but I
go-
can.
Yeah, that's supposed to go on the Out of Mana channel.
Oh, okay. Well, put it somewhere.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I didn't actually record that one, I just streamed it. I
But they're
can't...
in the Twitch videos if anybody wants to watch it.
Yeah, in one of those videos, it should be the last one or the one before that. Wow, I have an itchy throat today. But in the last one or the one before that, because I think the last one before this one is when we were RP walking as dinos.
That was fun.
What?
We got on the
The
PTR.
PTR.
So we were going to stream some LFR, you know, the Out of Mana crew does LFR on the PTR. Yeah, I did that right. And it just wasn't doing, like, it would not pop. We'd go from 2 tanks and 13 DPS to 1 tank and 7 DPS.
In the queue's defense, we queued as 6 healers, so yeah, not a good idea. But anyway, since it wouldn't pop, we RP walked across Kanlai Summit to, what was that island? Giant Island or something?
Isle of Giants. We're sitting
With all
there.
the dinosaurs.
We're sitting there following Every and like just a line RP walking from the Alliance Shrine across the water to Isle of Giants. And as we're walking, they're like, "Ooh, pretty giants!" And then we find a vendor that sells an item, turns you into a dinosaur, reduces the length or the aggro range of the people there while you're using it. So we started.
God, spoilers.
Well, we're telling them to watch the video, so.
No,
Yes,
okay,
we'll say-
I get it. It makes you into a dinosaur.
Yes.
So we ended
Do the
up
dinosaur walk.
RP walking around the island as dinosaur.
I have a dino story. It's not related to PTR at all. On Hour of Twilight, whenever I run on my Hunter, on Benedictus, I would always pull out my dino and then set the dino on Benedictus so it looked like Benedictus had a dino head. I would call him Dinodictus.
Oh my god.
Dinodictus is alive!
That sounds so wrong.
It
That's
does.
hilarious!
Hey, which
sounds
one of the
dirty.
Scarlet instances is the one where, like, all the little priests die and have their fail angels pop up?
The one that
That's
milk
Sky
tried to the whole
Monster.
courtyard?
Yeah, every time anyone in my guild goes there, they're like, "Oh my god, Winnie, why are you following me to this dungeon? You're not even in my group."
Are you dead that often?
Maybe. Stupid Halo.
I love Halo. Hey,
She does.
I really do.
Yeah. We used to, in LFR, my guild used to call Altraxian the Pug Wiper.
The Drakes before Ultra were a Pug Wiper too.
Oh my god, they would die on trash. What's hard about a taunt swab? I used to taunt on my Holy Paladin.
I also
I
So
used
it
to-
wouldn't wipe.
I had an LFR the other earlier this week with Brent, and we're sitting there and they're doing stone guards, and one of the healers pops up. You know, you tanks are doing this wrong. You're supposed to spread them out and taunt them back and forth.
Oh god.
First thing
On
out
an
of
LFR.
first thing out of my mouth is, "This is LFR. Just shut up and heal."
That would be such a waste of time.
This is the same run where we had 2 shamans, and the shaman didn't use Earth Shield.
Oh yeah, didn't he ask
And-
you what Earth Shield was?
Asked me what Earth Shield was, Ask me how I was able to heal so well when shamans had had very little healing spells. You basically spam healed Healing Surge on one of the tanks, and that was it.
Enhancement?
No, he was resto, and he had like a mix of 450, 476 gear.
What? How?
I don't even.
But it's
What?
funny because literally the paladin tank was out healing him and doing more heals per second than this healer was.
I don't want to talk about paladins tanks out healing people.
And I mean, this guy never went AFK. I put him on focus so I could see when he was casting. He's constantly casting.
Oh my god.
The only totem he's using is Mana Tide, and it seems like he's using every time it's off cooldown. He's using it.
Oh Lord.
Well, if he's spamming Healing Surge, you probably need it too.
I mean, it gets to the point where on Garajal. Well, first of all, we wiped an LFR on Garajal because nobody went down in the totems to kill the ads. But it gets to the point where it's like the healers are dropping, and then it's a paladin and myself healing the group, and he's sitting there, and there's like 2 hunters, a mage, a paladin tank, paladin healer, and myself are still alive, and this shaman's like, B-res me, B-res me. So
It's less of a waste of mana to let you stay dead.
we wiped. I onked because I really didn't want to have to walk through the entire instance again. Mass res people, and finally we're like, you guys, DPS do know that you still have to go into totems and kill the ads, right? I mean, unless every DPS in here is going to pull over 80k.
Yeah.
LOL, but it's LFR.
It's like, I understand it's LFR, but unless you're all going to pull over 80k, those ads are going to make us healers go before anything.
I could do it.
That sounds like a challenge.
See, the only thing that sucks is most of my IRC friends, except for like 2 of you, are Horde. I'm gonna go cry in the corner now.
I'm
You should
leveling
be
an ally.
both like me.
Horde is better, so yeah.
I can't be a Tara when I'm ally. Tara are awesome.
Pay for my faction transfer, and I will go ally just for you.
I might be leveling a Horde here soon, so...
You should.
Come to the dark side.
You guys have
We're all,
cookies?
yeah, we're all a bunch
Yes.
of dirty hordes. And
We
yes,
got
we have
cheesecake.
cookies.
Oh god.
Oh, cheesecake!
I might just make like a troll priest or troll shaman since I have the BOAs for that one.
But they're
There
back.
you go. He can make a female. Duh.
Okay, but then females have like those glazed eyes.
There's nothing wrong with female trolls. You be quiet.
I love my
saying.
female troll.
So, apparently, someone in chat said that Razor's doing a giveaway. So,
What?
I don't know, I just like glanced over at my second computer and it's like, I'm good person. Razor giveaway, join! And then he has a link.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for interrupting our podcast with that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I have a story from back in Wrath, and it's kind of not Pug related, but it's an actual raid. I had recently then moved my priest from ally to horde, and I had joined this guild I was in, that my brother was in, and we were doing Nax, and we got to Sephiron. And on Sephiron, and I love this group like to death. I loved everyone in there. But on Sephiron, everyone but myself and the druid healer died. So it was me as a shadow priest and the druid healer healing me. And then this is at the boss is at freaking 75% health still. And so the two of us, 2-man the rest of the boss. And like it was like, oh my god. And like everyone was excited, and that druid is now my boyfriend.
That's
Nice.
okay. I'm dating my co-healer, and Vero's dating her tank.
I'm dating my healer.
Fortunately, my boyfriend doesn't play anymore.
That's not fun.
No. If you're watching, hint hint.
Oh, jeez.
Professional ethics demand that I not date any of my co-healers.
Yeah.
I'm sure your husband would not approve.
Yeah. I really am trying to get him to come back and be a bear for me again. I don't know if bears are good now or not, but I'm trying to get him to come back to the game.
Alright, do we have any other stories anyone would like to mention, or are we going to go to the stories that people have given us?
Well, first off, I just put the Twitch chat in slow mode so we can actually watch it and read it easier. So that just means it can't go as fast as it was. But, yeah, do we just want to read the two and then, if,
Sure.
anybody has...
I think there were some posted ones.
We have someone, I have two that I'm looking at, but if anybody wants to post one, or tweet us one, or tweet us a link, or email one, Vero can monitor email. Mods aren't affected by the slow-mo chat, guys.
Aww.
What is slow-mo chat?
It basically means you have a little bit of time, I think it's like 30 seconds in between each time you send something.
So like a really restrictive chat filter.
Well, it's not really filtered, because we don't have a filtered on our channel.
Well, I mean,
How
you
about
know,
So,
We do
Sparkle, you play Monks the most.
Burmester and Windwalker only.
Well, Practical's not here. Again. And
Mist is still being lame and not buying a mic.
Don't know how to play Mistweaver. Well, I know theoretically. That doesn't mean anything because
I don't
I've
even know
literally never done it.
honestly, Miss could at least comment on it, but he's not even in here. He's not even on the IRC.
I'm offended.
So, we'll have to answer that at a later date because none of us play Mistweaver.
Sorry, who? Oh, the Mistweaver monkey
Sorry
is.
to iPendaline.
They are super, super over the top. My current conspiracy theory is that their jab mana cost increase is
You didn't hear? Jab's actually
The 10
costing
Valor?
experience.
so pretty much. No, that's uplift. Anyway,
No, Uplift is 10 Valor. Jab is now costing 100
Alright.
experience every time you use it.
yeah, anyway, my current conspiracy theory is that they're cranking it so high so that the Mistweavers right now on PTR forums and whatnot can actually come to a consensus on what they actually, like, what number they want it at to be happy.
But it's
and, it's not working.
It's
so.
the same thing, like with Disc Priests. You have some Disc Priests that love Atonement, others that don't. You have some Disc Priests that...
That's not the issue. The issue is, like, the playstyle, the fundamental playstyle of Mistweaver is changing.
Right.
Which is really bad because Blizzard has said over and over again that they don't want to do mechanical changes to a class in the middle of an expansion, and that's kind of what it is. Like, the changes to Disc in 5.1 weren't mechanical changes so much as gigantic freaking bug fixes.
Going on to what Rawlings says of why do we PvE, it's about PvP. Believe it or not, PvP actually came after World of Warcraft was released. The game has never been solely about PvP. You can even ask people who have worked on the game that they focus balance and issues like that mostly around PvE over PvP. Because they want it to be both, but World of Warcraft is more so a PvE game than PvP. And you can even see that by percentages of who plays on PvE servers to PvP servers and things like that.
No offense, and I don't want to be, like, part of that crowd, but PvP has been really, really unbalanced this expansion. Like,
I
the
agree.
CCs are kind of painful.
No, I agree. And I'm not saying that,
So,
I'm not saying that's the perfect way for them to do it. I'm just saying of what Blizzard has said.
like, I agree that CCs in a moderate fashion are skillful. using them right, but right now there's way too many. And also, it's way easier to competitively PvE than it is to competitively PvP because, well, I mean, I don't mean to say easier, but less frustrating? Yeah, less stupid to do? No offense.
But
Kind of offense.
with going
He's
with
being
PvE to PvP, if you don't get into the PvP season right at the start, you're at a major disadvantage if you keep going on later. Whereas PvE, if you don't get into it right off the start, you may not be able to do it competitively, but it's easier to get into PvE raids and all that than trying to do competitive PvP.
They are doing a catch-up system for PvP, though, so hopefully that will help somewhat.
Yeah, hopefully it will, but like right now, I started the PvP season on my hunter way too late, and I'm just at a disadvantage in Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
We had one more comment. Telleric Currents. Anybody else but me play a shaman? And
I'm on my shaman right now.
Telleric Currents, I think, is probably the most useless glyph a shaman has currently.
And no, it should not be buffed. If it was buffed, that would be the worst ever.
If it was... No.
Just, no.
No,
No,
I just think
no.
it needs to be taken out, to be honest.
I don't know. I thought I hated it in Cataclysm because, you know, that whole mandatory thing, but I find now that I actually kind of miss it.
Yeah, Miri doesn't mean it being buffed. She just means using it in general.
I don't use it
Well,
because
it's
it's...
kind of pointless.
Yeah, it's... But it's... A lot of top-end shamans use it, that's true, but it's a pointless glyph because at any time you're using more mana in burst phases than you're going to be getting back after that. You're going to be getting back into between burst phases.
I mean, speaking as someone who actually does know quite a few top-end shamans, they don't actually use it.
No, not anymore. They did in
Like,
Cataclysm
it's actually
because,
not
yeah.
worth it to cast.
Yeah, Cataclysm, I use it all the time.
Like, it doesn't do that much return anymore at all.
No.
It's
Okay.
like 2% of your max mana, so you're getting
Barely
6k
possible.
Yes,
back.
but you have to pay for the lightning bolt.
The lightning bolt, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
barely
It's like
positive.
it's like 0.5% or something like that. It's not worth it.
Like, on hero grades, you literally can't do this. There's no time. I mean, you might get one cast off or so, but honestly, that's not gonna matter. It's
Yeah.
really because, like, stuff like the Glyph of Riptide is worthless. Like, literally any fight this tier, Glyph of Riptide, you should not be using it. Absolutely guarantee you.
I completely agree there.
If somebody asks about Riptide, no, do not use that.
No, I'm just saying, like,
I've
compared
actually...
to the other glyphs that are available as a Rescue Shami.
Honestly, over Telleric Currents, I glyphed my cleanse, so my cleanse heals a little bit now.
Yeah, it's basically everything makes such a little difference, really.
Anyway, so, who wants to read out the story? Or shall I
You
read
said
it
you
out?
were.
Yeah, but now my throat is, like, making me want to cough, so...
I can read it if no one else wants to.
Go ahead, Vera.
You
Go ahead, Vera.
Okay, so the first one we have from the forums is from Astir, I guess, who is a priest, and I probably just said your name wrong, and I'm sorry if you're watching this. Alright, so here is her story. We have a pally tank, a hunter, a shadow priest, and a rogue. I noticed the priest is in Valentine's Day gown, so I inspect her. She's wearing jewelry, the gown, and nothing else at all. That sounds hot. I whisper her, that was me saying hot to her. I whisper her about putting her gear back on and putting her gear on, and she whispers back saying, "It clashes with my dress." While I was whispering her and healing the group, the hunter had been asking if we could skip trash and just do bosses. In the third trash pool, the aggro is all over and everyone's getting hit by one imp or another. The tank mentions it's hard to keep aggro. I asked him why he wasn't using any of his AoE and get the price list, so what's an AoE response? He admits to being new, so I try and help him out. While I'm healing and explaining, though, the hunter jumps off somewhere and pulls more stuff after he dies, and I'm trying to get to the tank to read his spells and stuff while healing a big ol' mess of an overpull with the goblin boss. While still fighting, of course, the hunter asks for a res. I squeeze out, "You jumped off a ledge and died around a corner, so no, because I don't know where your body is." As he's running back, after things are all dead, I'm trying to pull the tank through his spellbook, trying to remember the names of the spells on my pally tank I haven't played in months. All I come up with is Consecrate, which he didn't get till level 34. I knew there were AoE before that, though, because I vividly remembered Raffle stopping SFK around level 20 with AoE. As I'm trying to coach this guy and just get him to read, the hunter has run back and promptly runs ahead, and we all start running again. Hunter is piping up about how this dungeon takes like 5 minutes if we skip all the trash. At this point I was annoyed and answered kind of snippily, with a tank that knew his spells and a DPS in her gear, maybe, but not with this group. The poor tank got kind of defensive and was upset about the saying how he couldn't help if he was new and learning. I explained I was trying to tell this Hunter to chill and let you learn, and Hunter goes, "Learn when it's not combat time." By now I'm just annoyed beyond belief and simply want the place to be over with, so I cannot help but respond, "It's people that make tanks and healers quit." During this last bowl, while the conversation was happening, the priest piped up about something having to go and asked if it was okay. The hunter tank and I were a bit of a discussion, so I didn't respond, and then the rogue, who hadn't said anything in the entire dungeon, drops group. Little Miss Priest says, "At least I asked, he just left." I didn't even pay attention to whatever two DPS were picked up, because by then they were at the boss. Somehow through all this, our tank had apparently gotten some spells out of his book, because I saw the animations for them on the boss, and he kept aggro on all the ads, though I had to spam Regrowth and Rejuve and Swiftmend on him. I dropped as soon as everything was dead. That was enough of that. So that is the first one.
It took me like a good 10 minutes to really figure out what dungeon they're talking about, but
Yeah,
I'm
I couldn't figure it out
pretty
either, 'cause
sure
she
they're
doesn't
talking
mention
about
it.
Mardon. Because
Oh, and
that's the
there's-
only
Yeah.
one with a goblin.
Yeah, and then there's an edit. It says, "I can't believe I forgot to mention the priest kept casting Levitate on the whole party and wasn't in shadow form."
What? I do that all the time normally.
I did that today.
Whatever.
Can I just say that I do not have enough chocolate for this? I think chocolate is a code word for something else.
Oh, snap.
I have chocolate right now.
I have chocolate cookies.
Okay, so you guys know that I've been working on my DPS stuff a lot lately because I have to. And so last night, I'm trying to get some heirlooms, so I'm gonna make a tank because, yeah, bored. And I keep queuing for heroics and finally getting into queue and wind up healer dying, DCing, tank sucks, healer sucks. I keep winding up having to heal anyway, and I don't even get like a bribe bag or anything. And healing these heroics is the most mind-numbingly, stultifyingly boring thing ever. I just wanted to say. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Were you doing it as holy or something?
Yeah,
She likes
because
holy.
I love holy, but I have holy and I have shadow, and I'm not respecking the disc and redoing all my keybinds and crap just for 5 minutes.
Well, see,
bullshit.
that's when you take a page from was it Frozen's book, and DPS is holy for 90% of the dungeon.
That's what I did today.
Red chakra, go!
Yeah, except for the
that's a
last
lot of
couple of
damage.
ones. That's what I was doing all day today when I was running with Nerf and Joe.
So, who wants to read the second story?
Whoa. Hey, we didn't... You just kind of like skipped over the first one. Anyway.
What? I actually...
No, it's just
we
the first one.
didn't really talk about it, though.
I'm sorry, Sparkle. I thought we were going to talk
Well,
about both of them at the same time.
In that case, the whole
That's
thing, like,
confusing.
learn your class when it's not in combat. How else are you going to really learn your class when you're not aside from being in combat?
To be fair, it was like a level 34 dungeon, so you don't learn anything while leveling, honestly.
I can't really agree with that.
I mean, some
think new
people
players do.
but like a lot of people just don't learn anything while they're leveling, and there's really no way to force them to.
I've gotten so many tanks at max level ask me what certain spells are.
Exactly.
Because
so
they don't...
I mean,
they, even in dungeons, at some dungeons you don't need some spells.
they just don't learn anything. I mean, it's nice to say like, oh, he's just learning, but honestly, they're probably not going to.
Well, ideally, you would learn about things as a tank, about like how to pull things, how to do a line of sight pull. But the other day in Scarlet Monastery, where I had wound up healing anyway, another one of those, I was like, no, if you're new here, if you don't want to wind up with a hot mess, line of sight these around the corner, talking about that little courtyard area. And the tank was like, was lost? And of course, you know, DPS like all piles out around the corner when I'm trying to teach this tank how to do a line of sight pull to make everything all clean and pretty. And so I'm like life gripping. I life gripped one of them, but then I was just like, ah. So of course the whole room came and he got just trucked because he was still wearing like greens and well, I wasn't paying that much attention.
Sounds super fun.
Joe, weren't you the one? Weren't you the one that had the warrior that told us that told you they didn't have interrupts?
It was two warriors. It was in Cataclysm with Queen Ashara. You know, you have to interrupt her mess charm thing. Yeah, I was on my priest, so my only healer that had absolutely no interrupt. So she starts doing it, and I'm in party chat going, interrupt, 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 interrupt. Of course, nobody interrupts. She charms, we all die, and we're coming back, and I'm like, you guys, you have to interrupt her. And the warrior tank says, I would, but I don't have an interrupt. And the DPS warrior says, he's right, I don't either. And I left the group. I decided it wasn't worth it. I just left.
Double the fun.
Lol, what's pommel?
Apparently not an interrupt.
That dungeon got to the point where unless I was in there with someone that was in my guild, and if I was on my shaman or my paladin, I interrupted myself.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, yeah.
I even interrupted a few times switching to bear form and skull bashing on my druid, but my priest, it's like unless I wanted to attempt to heal it in shadow and use silence, I had no interrupt as a healer.
But there's
Which
always
sucks.
someone who can interrupt, and it's
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I can't think of a group combination ever, unless you're all disc or all holy priests, that doesn't have at least one interrupt in the group.
Yeah.
even then the tank has interrupt.
Well, a tank would always have an interrupt.
Yeah, what kind of nut would do a heroic 5-man with all healing priests?
I don't know. Crazy people.
You obviously don't know about our new segment of 5 healers, 1 heroic.
Yeah, we didn't do all. We did two
I was in
priests.
the first one.
Yeah, she
Nice.
was in-
Yeah, you were, true.
We still need to do a battleground.
Battleground would be fun.
10 healers, 1 battleground.
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
You would, like,
I want these
never
people
die. Quick, kill a healer! Which one?
Alright, who wants to get to the second story then?
Vera, do you want to read the second one as well?
Sure. So the second one comes from Elrix, who is a shaman. Although I don't know. But she was healing on.
Shami
Or
power.
she or he was healing on the rest
She,
of Druid.
it's Aritha.
Well, I don't know. I'm just joking. In Escape from Durnhold. So we zone in and everyone makes their way to Stronghold. Hunter's Pet pulls the first group of guards and I swing into action. I'm healing all sorts of aggro, but it doesn't really matter, of course, with all 2 guards being fought. Hunter's Pet is sent in to pull the next pack, and then the next pack, and then the next pack, which is much larger. At this point, I call it, hey, whatever the DK tank's name was, we'll call him Fell Tank, because I want to name him that. Would you care to do some tanking for us? And the hunter responds, I'm dual boxing, Fell Tank. Sit back and enjoy the ride.
Oh.
I bit my tongue and figured, well, we'll see how derpy the other 2 DPS are. Might work if they don't do dumb crap. Some lowbie 5-mans are just that easy, and I had no real memory of whether there were pools in this one that would hand our booties or not without a real tank. It put me through a lot of a workout at times, but it wasn't actually all that bad of a run. I disagree strongly with anyone who inflicts that crap on 4 puggers, because if even one of the people running isn't fairly experienced, it can quickly turn into a nightmare, which no one else signed up for when they queued. But yeah.
Can I just say,
It just wasn't a disaster.
the minute I read that and I read dual box and you said dual box, I literally cringed. I hate when people go into dungeons and dual box with the tank and aren't at least using the tank to move.
Yeah, that just makes no sense.
Set the
At least
DPS
go
and
in.
follow.
Yeah, if it was the tank was pulling and the hunter wasn't doing anything, it wouldn't make me cringe quite
It
as bad.
doesn't matter because the tank does so much DPS in lobby dungeons, but
Right, but going in there and you're using a tank, and like Vero said, if one of the people in there doesn't know what's going on, is new to the game or whatnot, you can really cause them pain, especially if that person happens to be a healer.
And if they're a new healer, oh god.
Scarred for
Yeah, scared away from healing forever.
Seriously. And Shane posted one in our healing IRC, which I'll go ahead and read too because it's really short. So hi, Shane, if you're reading this.
Hi, Shane.
So it says, early Wrath of Lich King, I was on my priest doing reg UGK, and I got I got a group of 3 tier 6 Geary DPS and a Pally tank that was an Atlan's green. The tank was as squishy as wet tissue paper. He died on every pull and could not hold aggro. The DPS asked, "Hey guys, stop talking in chat, you're making it move." The DPS asked if it was the tank and the healer's fault. The tank quickly blamed me. Of course, that's usually how it goes. And I was kicked before I could even defend myself. I rage quit after that for a few hours.
yeah.
Gotta love those.
I had... And this is going to sound like a bad joke. I had just today, a few hours ago, on my priest, had a tank in Shadowpond Monastery with Lich King trinkets.
Doesn't surprise me. People are dumb.
And
Oh, wow. Lich King? Not like Kata? Because for a second I was going, I kind of held on to one on my... Oh.
yeah, not Kata. I mean, Cataclysm trinkets are okay. If you're not doing much questing, there's not too many trinket drops in the first 2 dungeons. But Lich King? I mean, you
Telling
can...
me you missed an X-Pack there, but...
Yes. Did you
I
just
don't know about you
skip
guys, but I
over?
totally rocking my raised last egg. Or Ray, I don't know.
Yeah, Riot is right. There are no trinkets prior to heroics, it seems. But even then, there are trinkets that you get from questing that are much better than the Lich King ones.
You can get them from vendors, too.
yeah.
Yeah, you can buy just from vendors.
I hate when people do that. They hold on to their gear like it's sacred.
Well,
I kind of feel like it's sacred, though.
my bang...
I
My
mean,
gear
yeah,
is
but-
sacred, thank you very much.
If I find a set that I like, now that we have transmog, I keep it. But I don't keep wearing it. I transmog it.
That's true.
Well, go ahead, Buffy. Tell us. What's the story?
Yeah, you're in voice chat with us, Goober.
You're guest hosting with us tonight.
Surprise.
Whether you want to be or not.
Yay.
Story time with Buffy.
Yay. Go ahead, Buffy.
Dun dun dun.
Pause for dramatic effect.
Do 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 do.
Okay.
Stage.
I was farming herbs, I'm sorry. So, this story came from just the other day. I was on my Disciplined Priest, Bufferia. Yay. I went into the satchel was up. Satchel's a trap, as usual. It was a Mogushan Palace on Heroic. I zone in, and the tank is a Death Knight, and he's got a guildie with him who's a warrior. The other 2 DPS was a Warlock and a Mage, who were also guildies, but they were separate guildies from another server. So, first thing I noticed when I zone in is that the tank has a very small amount of health. I'm lean somewhere in the 350,000 range. So I inspect him and I see that his trinkets are the Magnetite Mirror and the Leaden Despair. Now, for those not familiar, those are 2 trinkets that drop in Stone Core, which is a Cataclysm dungeon. Now, I'm not talking...
Were they the
What?
heroic versions?
No, they were the 316 normal versions.
Nice.
So, as we go, we clear off to the right, and then we make our way into where the Trial of the Kings, the first boss encounter is. Right before the first group there with the dog, the mage makes a comment about not the tank not being able to keep aggro very well. So I point out the lack of really good gear on him, and specifically his 2 bad trinkets. So immediately when I'm done posting that, he must have read it, the tank, I mean, and immediately his health shoots up to about the 500,000 range. So when I go to inspect him on this, I see that he's actually put on some more decent gear, and then he starts feigning ignorance about not having any good gear on at all. So when I start calling out that he was, I guess, trolling me or something, he goes into the, well, I don't know what you're talking about, I've been wearing this the whole time. Like, you could clearly tell that he was just trying to make me mad or something, so I just didn't want to have to deal with it, so he just did the boss, and I noticed for some reason that when we were doing Trial of the Kings, he seemed like he was taking more damage. I didn't even know that was possible. So, it gets to the point where we keep going through the dungeon, and when we get to Gekon, the Sarak, I think that's how you pronounce his name, he says, well, why don't we jump up on the railing and then jump down? They didn't have any classes that had pets, so that meant nobody was going to run around and grab everybody. So we all jump up, and we're all ready, and so I get a brilliant idea. So when he goes to jump, I see him in midair, I immediately hit life grip, he jumps back up onto the railing and starts running backwards back the way we came. I see him stop, look around, and then I could totally tell that he was probably really pissed. So he didn't say anything for the rest of the run. So we down Gekon, we go up the elevator, we clear all the way over to Zen, the Weapon Master, last boss. So he decides to bring him all the way back to the doorway, which is apparently a very common tactic. Milk doesn't like it.
No, I do not.
Not at all. So he gets him there. DPS start laying into him. It gets to the point where I'm getting really tired of the guy, and then I expect him, and then it turns out he's put on all of his bad gear again. So he's got the low amount of gear, he's taking really big hits, but I'm able to keep him up, not too hard. So I'm getting sick of the guy totally messing with me and wasting our time, so I decided not to lay off the heals on him, which means not using Atonement, so I could Holy Fire or Smite. So I was just shielding the other 3 DPS, and then penancing, and then just healing, flash healing, greater heal, whatever I needed to do. And so when he got down to a lower amount of health, the boss, I ran into right on the other side of the arrow streams that are shooting out all over the room, just past the first door. And right before the boss dies, I life grip the tank right in front of me, and he stands there for just long enough that he dies. And then when the tank is going after one of the DPS manages to down him, and he starts cursing violently in instance chat.
Sounds like fun.
I have to admit,
Satchel is a trap.
Satchel is a trap. I am.
Satchel's
is a
always a
trap.
trap.
I am guilty of standing and stuff, void shifting someone in a group that I don't like, and then life gripping them into the bad. That needs to be the background for next week, Vero. Just Satchel is a trap.
Satchel is a trap.
I keep forgetting about Void Shift. It would be so much easier killing people if I remembered.
Yeah, the new.
Yeah, I always forget Void Shift. I'm trying to look for a good application for it, and it never seems like a good time other than I'm going to hang out in some fire and then I'm going to Void Shift somebody and look like I didn't screw up, because that's fun.
Yeah, so the hunters are getting a new spell called the Satchel Trap that only works on healers. So it's sadly coming to that time where we must all bid people goodbye.
Adieu.
Adieu to you and you and you.
Before we leave, is there anybody in chat that has a story or something that they would like to share with us?
Or any questions, or any asking how to respond to certain situations?
I have a question.
What's your question?
I need a healer for Heroic in like 20 minutes.
No.
Please.
There are no healers here.
Or you
These are not the healers you're looking for.
That's the that.
What gives you the idea that we're healers?
Fine, I'll just pull really fast and not die all by myself.
Sounds about
here.
good.
I guess there's no questions. So thanks for watching. I'm linking a bunch of stuff in the chat room, so you can follow us on Twitter and YouTube and our website and all that good stuff.
And follow.
And people can link their personal Twitter.
And make sure, go and sub to Vero and I on YouTube when, we release some pretty interesting videos.
And you want to
And you
mention
can join us.
the podcast coming up for the
Right.
Child's Game?
Yeah, mention
We
that.
are doing, not us, we're not, but another podcast that some of us listen to, Epic Podcast, is doing a charity stream. It's starting April 6th at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time to April 7th, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. It's a 24-hour charity stream taking donations for Child's Play. If you don't know what Child's Play is, Google it. But it basically gives games and toys and things like that to children who are in the hospital and all that. And they're going to be doing like an LFR with viewers, some pet battles, some StarCraft 2 tournaments, Diablo 3, Secret World, all that type of stuff. I think some of us here of the Out of Mana crew will probably try and make an appearance to support them. I know I am. I'm thinking some of the other people there will as well.
Of course.
Yes.
So, yeah, follow us on Twitter. You guys, we let out a lot of our information there. You can also find all of the hosts' Twitters on the site. I linked mine.
Except
Vera
Milk.
linked hers. Milk doesn't have a Twitter. We're going to make her get one soon.
Twitter's evil.
We'll make one for you and just keep tweeting every day and just say milk.
Crap.
If you have any questions, have any ideas that you want us to talk about, or you want to see an episode or a segment of an episode about, you can tweet us there with @OOM Podcast. You can email, oompodcast@gmail.com. Yeah. You can visit our website. You can join us in the IRC. We're normally in there a lot.
All the time.
Yeah, pretty much all the time.
For those of you who who are listening on the iTunes, it's outofmana.me/healchat. We're in there all the time. And yeah.
All the time. And the Mumble. Don't feel free to join us in Mumble. while
Yeah,
we're
if you
here.
want to go on
Yes.
IRC, you can find the Mumble information. Come in, actually talk to us. And hey, maybe you will be able to guest host a podcast in the future.
Dun, dun, dun.
See you all later.
Bye. Thanks for
See
listening.
ya.
And remember, if you want to try healing, just try it.